My husband read my journal. Our marriage has improved. How do I address this? So, my husband and I have been married for 2 years, together for 5. As with any relationship, we've had our ups and downs. The most notable down was some infidelity on my husband's part in the first year we were together. I won't bore you with the cliché details, but ultimately I went against my gut instinct and stayed with him. Funnily enough, it didn't backfire on me. It never happened again. My husband, then boyfriend, jumped through hoops to regain my trust. He's the love of my life, and I felt validated that he truly was a good man who made some stupid decisions. Hence deciding to marry him. That being said, the issues being cheated on leaves you with are hard to tackle. My self-esteem was non-existent, and whilst my husband did everything he could to soothe my anxieties when I struggled with trust, it was, and is, tough. The thing is, beyond the initial confrontation, my husband never wanted to talk about what happened or how I felt. He wanted to kind of address it once and forget it, I guess. Act like it never happened. And I think he figured if he was the perfect partner, I would be able to do that. But you know, I'm a human with feelings, so I couldn't. As perfect as our relationship became, I still had bad days where I couldn't reconcile the man I love with the man who hurt me so much. I would find the girls on social media and hate myself for not looking like them. And I couldn't talk about it with anybody, because I didn't want to ruin his reputation with my friends or family, and he didn't want to be reminded. In comes the journal. I've journaled since I was a child and have always found it therapeutic. It wasn't a solution, but it did help immensely to just get my thoughts on paper. This last year has really taken a toll on my mental health, and I guess it brought all these things back to the forefront for me. So I was writing more than ever before about our history, just reflecting and trying to fix myself. One day, about 6 months ago, my husband is acting odd. Kind of sad, a bit distant. He's generally the type to only talk once he's ready, so I let it go for a bit before finally asking what was up. He said, "I feel like I broke you and I don't know how to fix it." Keep in mind, an exact phrase I wrote in my journal was, "He broke me, broke us, why is it my job to fix it?" What ensued was a massive conversation about all of it. How ashamed and guilty he felt, hence not wanting to talk about it. How he realized not talking about it wasn't actually helping either of us. Brainstorming about how we can both support each other and improve our marriage. I also got a genuine apology for the first time, rather than the initial panicked apology that felt more like an "I'm sorry I got caught" moment. I got to really explain how it all made me feel and why I still struggle. He talked about how he hates that he can't fix the hurt. He even decided to go to therapy and asked about couples therapy. There were tears and laughs and hugs. It was amazing. It was sorely needed. It felt like all my prayers had been answered. But I was also very much aware, based on the words he used, that he read my journal. Given what came out of it, I wasn't even upset about privacy. I was very unhappy, and I assume my husband read it out of desperation, to figure out what was wrong, especially since everything seemed to be good. Except it's kind of become a thing now. I still journal about everything, little tips, life stuff, how I'm feeling and coping. And I know my husband is still reading it based on his word choice, his behavior. We're communicating more than ever, outside of the journal, and we're the happiest we've ever been, and yet, it's a bit weird, isn't it? I know he's reading it. Does he know that I know that he's reading it? I have no clue. It's still benefiting me, it seems like it's benefiting him and our marriage as a whole. Comment. Just write in your journal you appreciate how the relationship is moving in the right direction, but I want my husband to stop reading my journal now. Or show him your post. I'm in my 26th year of marriage, and it takes a lot of forgiveness and patience and understanding from both sides to make it last a lifetime. Haha this. I would write a passionate post talking about how wonderful things have gotten, how much you love him, etc., and saying something like, "I know you are reading my journal, I'm not even mad, I actually appreciate it because of the doors it opened for us. Going forward, can you please stop though? We are in a good place with our communication through therapy, etc., and let's keep that up instead. I know you did it because you were worried and it came from a place of love. Blah blah blah." This is a great way to deal with this up. But I would add, he shouldn't have to read your journal, and you two have to work on your communication. I don't agree with reading your journal, but he is doing it because he is just not good at reading you, so maybe you have to be more open to say how you feel to him directly. Then you can have some more long talks. If all else fails, how about writing him letters? Yes this, and mention how effing up your trust with journal reading to fix your trust with the cheating is not the great thing he thinks it is. Is it though if him reading the journal is an enormous breach of trust in the first place? Op strikes me as the type not to stand up for herself and look for silver linings where she can. Everyone here really seems to be understanding that. You just say that you want some of your thoughts to be your own and it feels like someone is reading your thoughts without permission. If you feel that communicating by writing is useful, maybe separate diary that your husband can read with permission and he could possibly sometimes write his own things that he wants to share. Definitely do this. I genuinely lock up and freeze when I need to communicate something that really matters to me to my spouse. GE has to deal with long pauses where I struggle with what I want to say. I often send an email or text after conflict to summarize what I really think. I think relationships can really heal from infidelity and sometimes it even serves a purpose in long-term relationships. But you have to feel heard and be able to communicate. Best of luck op. Although I'm sure that would help, I think you need to figure out why you can't communicate this directly to your husband. Not all the stuff about mental health and his infidelity, but why you can't just tell him, hey, I know you read my journal, and I'm grateful for the changes you've been making and I'm happy with the direction we're heading in, but I need a space for my own private thoughts and I just need you to respect my need for privacy about that. Like, there's a reason why you can't or don't feel comfortable communicating that to your husband, and I feel like the communication problem needs to be addressed. Do you know why you don't feel like you can say that to him directly? As opposed to making a decoy journal to make him think he's reading it? I just feel like when given the options to deal with the journal stuff directly and making a journal that he can read while hiding another one, I mean one of those options seems much more healthy and I think you should give some thought to why you can't do that with your husband. Next story 2. My husband got a message from a mutual friend, 26F, saying she missed him. How do we handle this? My husband and I had a separation a few months ago, during which time we were going to get divorced but tried to fix things and, so far, so good. During that time, our friend group mostly hung out with him rather than me, which is fair because I am a huge introvert and he saw them more often because I moved a bit further away. We've been back together for a couple of months. One night recently we were both sick so we didn't go out to a game night. One of our friends messaged him only to say she thought he was going to be there and she missed him. I would have been fine with this if she would have said we. But it was very directed at him. I by chance saw this message and immediately became very uncomfortable. The girl is younger and has a history of flirting. I saw her do it with another married man. I asked him to please not respond, and he didn't, but he said he didn't think anything of it. I then asked how he would like it if I messaged another man that I missed him, or if someone messaged me that. He then understood. I was a bit upset that I had to explain why I felt it was inappropriate. We have not confronted her about the message. Should we? And should I be upset that he originally found nothing wrong with it until I had to explain it from another perspective? Comment. That is human nature. It is normal to see nothing suspicious when you know your own side and know if everything is above board. Or if you know it isn't but see what you are doing as allowed. What would have been worrisome is if you had explained, and he would have said no, that would be understandable, you could not do that, but it is acceptable for me. He understood and agreed. I would have him reply with, wife and I missed playing with the group too. Unfortunately we were sick and decided to stay home, so as to not spread the illness, hopefully we will feel well enough to come next time. Have him present you as a united front. If she does not get the hint, he needs to realize she is not safe for him to interact with. It could be because the idea of cheating on you with her is so far from his mind that he didn't even think it was a possibility that she'd make an advance on him. I also think you're blowing out of proportion how inappropriate it was. Yes, it was inappropriate and flirty, but you're acting as if she flat out propositioned him or tried to kiss him or something. I'll miss you tonight, has an undertone for sure, but it's not the 5-alarm fire you're making it out to be. Some men don't notice when they are being flirted with and he probably didn't think about it. I had to tell my husband that a woman in his office had a crush on him and he just laughed thinking I was wrong. I told him just wait. A few weeks later he came back and apologized because he said I was right. He had recently passed a licensing exam and everyone in the office congratulated him, but this woman gave him a thoughtful gift. When he said something to a guy friend in the office that he was surprised by this, the friend in turn was surprised because the office thought they were having an affair. He had never been so shocked and couldn't apologize to me enough. He had to ghost this woman as much as he could while still working with her. I thought it was hilarious and loved saying I told you so. You are so right. I've seen it happen and some have even admitted it. You see, as long as they act clueless, no one's going to argue with them, you know? To be honest, I really think that Off's husband did that when the text came in from the flirty friend. He acted unaware when in fact he knows why she texted him directly. What I hate is the lying. It's such an insult to a woman's intelligence. Then, we don't help by believing them. When we do that, we help confirm to them in their minds just how simple we are. Sweet Lord, I hate the games. My reading of this is that you're less secure in your relationship than your husband is. I agree that her message comes across as flirtatious, but if you trust your husband, there's no reason to be distressed about her flirtation. She is not part of your relationship, she's just a person sending unsolicited flirtatious text messages. Your husband neither asked nor consented to receive them, so there's absolutely no reason for you to hold anything against him. Likewise, if your husband recognizes all of this, his reaction was entirely appropriate. Even if he thinks that the text itself was inappropriate, that doesn't mean he has to have some huge reaction to it. If he is confident in your relationship, his reaction was exactly what you'd expect. As for whether to confront the friend, I personally don't think that's necessary if you two trust each other. If it gets to be a persistent problem, then yeah, you should probably have a conversation with her.